Welcome to the Engineering Insights podcast. Our guest today is George G, who's a mass properties engineer at Airbus. So, just to start things off with my first question, could you tell us what it means to be a mass properties engineer?
So a mass properties engineer in flight physics is basically someone responsible for anything related to the mass properties of an aircraft. So this
Mhm.
can be something as simple as understanding the weight of specific components, the aircraft as a whole, and doing CG calculations, but can also be as complex as trying to understand the CG envelope for an aircraft in flight and understanding as well the different sort of variables that feed into that to make sure that an aircraft is safe.
So, would you say that links more to material science or aerospace in terms of the engineering aspect of it?
It's, I would say, more aerospace, at least what we do.
Hmm.
We're not, I assume if you were, say, working for a supplier in the supply chain, it would be a bit more material science focused because you're now responsible for manufacturing the component from raw materials, and you
Hmm.
need to understand, the various manufacturing processes and how that would affect the mass. But as an OEM, we are more concerned about like the aerospace aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. Does that also include calculations for resistance and then looking at shapes of wings and profiles?
Yes. So those are all the responsibilities of other departments within flight
Hmm.
physics. So you can think of it as aerodynamics is a team that we have. We also have a team called the Loads and Aeroelastics team.
Hmm.
And as the name suggests, aerodynamics is responsible for the sort of profile of a wing, or profile of an object that they are creating.
Hmm.
And they would do your usual lift and drag calculations, simulations, all of that good stuff. Loads and aeroelastics will then take that data to create or calculate how much stress and forces are being applied to that
Hmm.
structure. And then mass properties is responsible for basically making the structure as light as possible within all of those parameters as
Hmm.
well. So that's how all those teams
Yeah.
within flight physics interact.
How do you say you got to, well, this role of being a mass property engineer? Because you don't see it much in terms of university courses, I'd say. It's more specific in other areas. So what was the kind of path that you took to get here?
Yeah, so it is very niche, and I definitely didn't, choose my degree or choose a specific pathway targeting this. It
Hmm.
was more I got here through the Airbus graduate scheme.
Oh, okay.
Um, and how it works is there are multiple departments within the company, of course, and there are specific grad schemes, especially in the UK, for specific departments. So I
Mm.
knew that I wanted to get into more of the aircraft design side of things.
Yeah.
So that's why I applied for flight physics. And within the grad scheme, we then do a whole number of placements around the company, and we change placements every 3 months.
Hmm.
Um, and Mass Properties was just one of the teams that I had the opportunity to do a placement in, or I chose to do a placement in. Um, and yeah, just really enjoyed the work that they were
Yeah.
doing, and decided to go back in my final role after the grad scheme. That is,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So would you say that your degree linked in terms of the skills that you'd take forwards into that role as a mass property engineer?
Yes and no.
Hmm.
No, in the sense that you're not learning anything specific to that besides, the usual things like understanding how to calculate your moments and
Yeah.
your CGs and, fairly basic engineering principles. But yes, in the sense of my degree in particular allowed me to really be adaptable and
Hmm.
learn things really sort of quickly, like in a short time frame. And I think that's really important, regardless of what your role is in engineering. Just sort of being able to learn something can be complex, can be simple, but as long as you're able to learn it quickly and
Mhm.
apply that knowledge quickly as well, then you'll be a great engineer.
And you have that problem solving aspect, you'd say is very big.
Yes, yes. I would say like if you're given a brand new problem and you're able to understand what needs to be done, but also what the pitfalls are
Mhm.
immediately, then you'll be able to handle anything that comes your way.
Do you have any examples of recent problems or projects that you've had to work on at Airbus?
Hmm. Uh, I think it's not really a recent example, but
Hmm.
at least during my grad scheme, because we swap roles every three
Yeah,
months. Um, 3 months is not a long time to get up to speed and actually sort of provide value
yeah.
back to the team that you've joined. But it was always, I think, at least based off the feedback, a strength of mine where I could, within a week or two, understand what the requirements were
Mhm.
and start contributing. But how you do that is basically just making sure that you're always really clear with your communication, like what the expectations are from your managers,
Mhm.
understanding what tools you need to use, and just being very free in terms of asking for help because nothing is worse than trying to butt your head against a problem
Yeah.
for 2 weeks, maybe even a full month, and getting nowhere, and finally asking for help that someone could have answered in maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Hmm.
So I think there is definitely a balance between um, being proactive and solving things on your own
Yeah.
versus getting help from the multitude of experts around you, especially at a place like Airbus.
Would you say that there's a lot of teamwork involved in your current role?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the characteristics that I know we look for when we hire as well.
Hmm.
Teamwork and communication. Like if you can't work in a multifaceted team, then it is difficult. Like
Hmm.
regardless of which career path you go down in the company, at least.
Did you do anything well before getting into the industry that really helped your teamwork skills then, considering how important they are?
I would say for me, it was definitely doing student projects at
Hmm.
university. I think they're the most accessible thing that you can do in uni to really focus on those characteristics.
Yeah.
So I was both lucky and unlucky in the sense that I didn't have any industry
Hmm.
experience prior to joining Airbus at all. So no internships, no
No.
work experiences. Um, but I did have 4 years of being involved in a student drone project, and sort of as the years progressed at uni, getting more and more responsibility in terms
Hmm.
of running that as well. And that really helped because, um, yeah, it's basically a mini company, if
Yeah.
not replicating a startup, minus obviously the financing and all
Hmm.
that. And I think getting your hands dirty is the most important aspect of uni and
Yeah.
demonstrating that you have passion compared to just being completely fixated on trying to um, get an internship because an
Yeah.
internship doesn't always provide value, I feel.
So looking back now, would you say that really following those engineering passions and then getting involved in projects is more or less important than internships or work experience?
I'd say more important.
Hmm.
Obviously, having a good CV is the first hurdle.
Yeah.
Um, but at least from my personal experience, having industry experience is not the be all end all.
Hmm.
Um, and one piece of advice that one of our chief engineers gives to all of us, because we recently had a talk about career development and things like
Hmm.
that. His biggest piece of advice was literally just pursuing your passion,
Yeah.
doing what you find fun and motivating, and naturally that will bring out the best in you as a candidate for
Hmm.
anything that you do, and you will find opportunities that way. It might sound a bit idealistic, but I think in general it's a sound piece of advice because
Mhm.
you can't show your strengths if you're not enjoying what you're doing.
Well, that's some big advice. Looking back at your current role,
Yeah.
would you say it's changed over the time that you've been there in terms of your responsibilities and what you've been doing, similar to your the drone club, sorry, the drone project that you're part of?
Well, so I can't really comment on that. I've only been in the role for less than 3 months.
Hmm.
Um, but I can say that in terms of my aspirations, I am hopeful that it will evolve in
Hmm.
the next year or so. Um, and there is definitely opportunity out there. What's great about a company like Airbus is um, even if the opportunities don't come to you necessarily, there is always scope for you to actually go out and create those yourself.
Yeah.
As long as you're clear with what you want. And for me, actually, right now, I'm just happy to kind of just settle down
Hmm.
right now, especially after an intense 2 years on the grad scheme,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
just sort of figure out what I really want to do. But yeah, I'm hopeful that with time that yeah, things will change.
Yeah. In the future, would you prefer to stay with Airbus, or would you ever consider leaving it for a similar company like I don't know, British Airways?
Yeah, so for me, I have a real passion for the airlines, and
Hmm.
my placement at British Airways, which I got to do, was like really eye-opening in terms of the more operational side of things.
Hmm.
Um, But for now, I think I'm quite content
Yeah.
just staying at Airbus because, as I said, there are so many different things that you can do there, and it's
Hmm.
not just Airbus commercial as well. There is a lot of internal mobility towards Airbus Defence and Space, and
Hmm.
also helicopters, if you so wish. So I think there are definitely pros and cons to
Yeah.
both staying and going out for more experience. That's for sure.
Well, if we look back at your degree, I guess, did it also include aspects of space, or was it mainly focused on aircraft?
Yeah, so my full degree title is Aeronautics with Spacecraft Engineering,
Mm.
which at Imperial was a specific stream that you could choose at the end of your second year
Yeah.
to go down a branch, basically. So we had three branches
Hmm.
that you could choose, one of which was the space one. So, yes, I did do a bit of space related topics, things like space systems and space structures, but in the end, I didn't really find many opportunities to work in that industry at
Yeah.
least. And for now, yeah, my passion is definitely rooted in aviation itself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When did you know for sure that aviation is what you wanted to go into rather than, I don't know, electrical, mechanical?
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit of like it sounds like a textbook answer, but
Mhm.
basically I knew when I was like 8 years old.
Wow.
Um, I was lucky in the sense that like both my parents are engineers, so I
Hmm.
knew I sort of grew up in that environment, and I knew that I was also a lot better with numbers than words.
Yeah.
English was my worst subject in the A levels equivalent in Australia called the HSC.
Hmm.
Actually, I think my first passion was buses as a kid.
Wow.
Um, yeah, just weirdly. So I knew that anything mechanical was interesting, but planes ended up being the main focus, partly through where I was living, like proximity to the airport. I think that's
Hmm.
a very common one for a lot of people, really. And also some family friends who were in the industry, well, more on the space side, who sort of really stoked that passion
Yeah.
for aerospace in general. And yeah, I thought planes were really cool.
That's from the start. Yeah. All the
Yeah,
way up. You're just
yeah.
interested in engineering. What would you say in your A levels or the equivalent? How does it work in Australia? Do you have to choose a certain number of subjects?
Yeah, so in Australia, we choose a number of units.
Hmm.
So we need 10 units to do um, the exam or to pass, and each subject is typically 2 units. but you can take extensions of certain subjects to increase the number of
Yeah.
units. So, for example, I ended up only doing 4 units, sorry, 4 subjects:
Hmm.
math, physics, English, and economics.
Hmm.
Uh, and I had a really large focus on math because it
Yeah.
was 4 units worth of math.
Hmm.
So,
Okay. I did see that you've played a lot of tennis. Do you still
yes,
do that?
yes, actually, it was one of my main goals,
Hmm.
starting life as a working adult, to keep up sports,
Yeah.
because you hear all the stories, even from my own parents, where you start working, you start maybe having a family, and
Yeah.
you just drop the things that you're passionate about.
Hmm.
And I really wanted to make sure that I kept that up.
Yeah.
And actually, I added badminton on top of that. So I've
Oh,
started
well.
playing badminton at a somewhat competitive level
Yeah.
too. So that's really fun.
Quite cool how you can keep it up going even like past university. I had never really thought about continuing with the sports after that.
I think sports is definitely one of the things that I've found really beneficial to me in terms of like my own development, even.
Hmm.
Um, because I used to really struggle in high stress environments, and sports
Hmm.
really allows you to see the tangible sort of fruits of your effort, if that makes
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah.
where you can really see that if you put in the time and the effort in your training, that you will succeed. And that obviously is you can translate to your
Yeah.
academics or your work life. And Airbus is really nice in the sense that we have really good work life balance, especially in the UK. We're on a
Hmm.
35-hour contract.
Yeah.
And that means that you have a lot of time to explore any of your other passions outside of work.
Are there any other passions or just any other interests that you say would have built your soft skills that helped now or just in the past?
Um, Not really, actually.
Hmm.
I've got a lot of like nerdy, introverted hobbies, to be
Hmm.
honest, on the side, but I don't think they help me with my soft skills, if I'm frankly honest. But I'd say, yeah, the biggest one is definitely sport.
Yeah.
Especially for me, tennis in school was a team sort of sport,
Hmm.
even though tennis is quite individual
Yeah.
when you see it on TV. So that still allowed me to explore the sort of, yeah, team
Yeah.
communication, connection kind of soft skill. Yeah.
Well, you did mention those other nerdy interests, so I would love to
Yeah.
hear what they are.
Yeah. So I love flight simming now.
Okay.
Um, if anything, working at Airbus has really accelerated that because
Hmm.
I have some like industry insight. So if there's anything that I'm curious about, I can just, walk by someone's desk and ask
Yeah.
them
Well.
certain aspects. So it's just really fun to sort of feed that. I love watching anime.
Hmm.
So that's definitely one thing for me. And yeah, Lego, and they're all kind of interconnected in some way,
Yeah.
to be
I've heard
honest. But
everyone that's starting engineering, or everyone in engineering has started with Lego.
yeah, yeah. Actually, for me as a kid, there was also I think it's called Connects. Yeah, and I'm also a massive F1 fan. But
Oh, okay.
again, that's a very generic engineering thing. I feel at this stage.
Have you been
Um,
following the latest season?
oh yes, I am so proud of Oscar Piastri with his first pole.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Australia.
yeah, I really hope he can convert it to a win
Hmm.
this weekend. But yeah, I'm also really happy with the Williams team right now.
Yeah.
They're my favorite team for
Did you
sure.
stay up to watch the race at, I don't know, 6 a.m. What was it?
Not last week.
No.
Last week I was a bit ill, so I was like, oh, I should probably take care of my body over
Hmm.
trying to watch the race.
I mean, looking at motorsport, did you ever consider that as a career rather than in aerospace?
Absolutely, actually, yeah. I applied to a couple of F1 teams at the
Yeah.
end of university. As you do, you kind of need to explore all the avenues. But my CV was not geared towards F1, and
Hmm.
F1 needs quite a specific profile, I feel.
Yeah.
So I didn't do any like Formula Student or any other sort of projects
Hmm.
focusing on F1. So yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get any offers, but it's not really a big regret of mine.
Yeah.
I think you need to really be passionate about it because the hours are long, the stress is high,
Hmm.
the compensation isn't necessarily the best from what I hear, unless of course your team wins the constructors, and then all of a sudden you're getting a bonus of half your salary.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a high octane environment,
Hmm.
which is obviously very unique
Yeah.
to Formula One. Yeah.
Would you say that as a person, and then also in terms of where you want to grow in the future, that Airbus is better, looking back?
I think so. Yes, I think just the fact that there are so many benefits to working in a corporation like Airbus.
Hmm.
Yeah, in the long run, especially when maybe you're in your middle ages and you have a bit more responsibility at home,
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a lot more sustainable.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So just one final question. I know you gave
Yes.
that big piece of advice earlier, but is there anything that you'd say to past version of you who was in university or even in high school? What would you say
Mm.
to them to kind of help them?
I think it's a piece of advice that I try to follow even now, and it is try to be kinder to yourself.
Hmm.
I think when you're in a highly competitive environment and you feel all of this pressure from yourself, from other people, um, it's really important to make sure that you are kind to yourself and
Hmm.
you do understand that failure in one aspect doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to fail everything. And I think when I was younger, I really did focus a lot on single achievements and sort of putting too much weight on that. And it's only after going through a couple of failures that I realized that, yeah, when it's a bit cliche, but
It's the biggest
when
learning
one door
experience.
closes,
Yeah.
yeah, another opens. And it really is true. And I think you can always make the most out of a situation as long as, yeah, you are kind to yourself.
Mhm. Thank you. You've been so great.